Now, I'm a nostalgic guy in general, but the winter season always strengthens those feelings even more. And there's nothing I love more at this time of year than firing up one of my most nostalgic video game series, Mario Kart. It's one of those rare series where I'm pretty much always in the mood to go and play any of its titles. Except for you, Super Mario Kart. I filed for a restraining order against you. Mario Kart DS was one of my first video game experiences, and as such, the series will always hold a special place in my heart. So today, to celebrate the new year and our first snowfall of the season, I'm going to be ranking all of the winter courses in Mario Kart history. Now you may be wondering what qualifies as a winter track. Well, it's a long-winded explanation, but here goes. For a track to qualify for the list, it must capture the essence, the heart. Basically, it just has to have snow and ice. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Before I get into the list, I have a couple of quick notes. First, outside of the bottom entry on the list, I love all of these tracks, and when I inevitably do more Mario Kart rankings, such as ranking every track or cup in a particular game, or the series as a whole, these tracks are likely to rank pretty highly on those lists. But if you have any thoughts, positive or negative, on my list today, please leave a comment down below. Also, I'll only be looking at the mainline games, so no arcade titles or Mario Kart Tour. Although I will be ranking the tracks from Tour that made their way into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe via the Booster Course Pass. Finally, in terms of criteria, I'm ranking these tracks based on their theming and how well it executes that theming, their layout, music, visuals, and most importantly, how much enjoyment I get out of playing them. Oh, and in terms of tracks that have had remakes, I'm going to weigh both the original and remake, while placing a higher emphasis on what I feel is the superior version of the track. So, without further ado, let's get into the list. I hope you enjoy.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, for those of you who've seen my video on Super Mario Kart, you know I'm not the biggest fan of the game. I certainly appreciate and respect it for being the first in one of the greatest video game series of all time, but playing it just makes me feel nauseous and wonder why I'm not playing literally any other Mario Kart. And it was playing the Vanilla Lakes that ultimately sent me over the edge. These tracks are terrible. These aren't just the worst winter tracks in Mario Kart, they might be the two absolute worst tracks in Mario Kart history, period. These damn ice blocks, man, they're hard to see, and I swear it's impossible to complete a lap without bumping into at least one. The only way you're getting through is maybe on lap 5, but only if you've bumped into all of them already. And oh yeah, these are from Super Mario Kart, meaning you have 5 whole laps. 5 whole laps to race on them. I genuinely think it's impossible to have anything other than the worst time imaginable on these tracks. I mean, these courses just make me so angry I could... Okay, let's calm down and get back on track here. If I had to pick which of these two is worse, I'd go with Vanilla Lake 2. Because the developers really raced on the first one and were like, you know what would be fun if we did it all over again? Luckily, the rest of the tracks on this list are all great tracks that I genuinely really enjoy. So there will be no more anger, only positive, wintry vibes.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal, and a Happy New Year.
Alright, before you all show up at my door with pitchforks, let me explain. I'm gonna be honest, I surprised myself when I ranked Merry Mountain this low on the list. But this is such a strong group of tracks that one track was gonna end up here feeling too low on the list no matter what. Let's start with the positives. The theming is phenomenal. The track looks beautiful, the music sounds like it's from Super Mario Galaxy, which is always a great thing by the way. And let me take a moment to admire this beautiful road in the beginning section of the track. I mean, Nintendo popped off here. And the lighting is just gorgeous. In fact, the whole beginning section with the village and the train is nothing short of visually stunning. But I just find this track underwhelming. There's just something about it that always leaves me feeling like it could have been so much more whenever I play it. And it really has everything to do with the second half of the course, starting with once you begin going up the mountain. First of all, the track is really short and has a very simple layout, no doubt due to it being from Tour originally. And don't get me wrong, I think short and simple tracks have their place in Mario Kart, even in a game like Mario Kart 8 that has some of the most wild tracks we've ever seen. In fact, you'll see some of my love for the simpler tracks later in this list and in future Mario Kart course rankings. But with as big of a theme as Christmas, I just think they could have done more. For example, this ending section is such a letdown, as there's nothing going on as you drive down the mountain besides the occasional spin boost pillar and a glider ramp on laps 2 and 3. I would have appreciated if they added some obstacles or snowmen or something. As of now, it's just a barren ride down the mountain. which is a whole quarter to a third of the course, by the way. In the end, I think I love what this course represents more than the course itself, which I find to be really unfortunate. If only the second half of the track was as strong as the first half.
Adventure and glory like no penguins have ever seen before.
At number 11, we have N64 Sherbet Land, the weaker of the two Sherbet Lands in the series. It probably says something that Nintendo made a track with the exact same name in the next home console entry in the series, but penguins. The ice physics and sharp turns are big turnoffs for a lot of people with this track, but I think it makes it stand out amongst the rest of the courses in the series. That said, I do think the Wii version is superior, as I find it easier to traverse the N64 version due to that game's already slippery controls. The Wii version is also graphically superior, especially in the cave section, where everything is now lighter and the colors are just more vibrant. Driving on this track makes you feel like you're driving in Antarctica, and it doesn't get any more winter than penguins and Antarctica. Antarctica? Antarctica.
You shall not pass!
DK Pass is a good track, and it comes from my first Mario Kart game, Mario Kart DS. It's pretty charming and fun to race on, with great music that makes you feel like you're a kid playing outside in the snow. It has the classic DK mountain track theme of going to the top of a mountain and driving back down. Although unlike the others, this one sees you actually driving up instead of getting shot out of a cannon. And this drive up can be treacherous, with cute snowmen along the road that will send you spinning out if you run into one, giant snowballs falling that will crush you, and edges of the cliff that threaten a steep fall to the depths below. And at the mountain's peak, you have the world-famous item box that always gives out triple mushrooms or a star. However, here's the thing. The problem with DK Pass is not that it's a bad track in and of itself. The problem is that Mario Kart Wii's DK Summit is just a flat-out better and more interesting track that sees the theme of a DK Mountain winter track executed at a much higher level. While I still love DK Pass, it's hard not to think about how much I'd prefer to be playing DK Summit whenever I'm racing on it.
You chant anything, people will join in. Canada! 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 Okay, they won't chant anything.
Number 9 is Vancouver Velocity. Fun fact, this is one of the only Mario Kart track rankings you can do where there is exactly one Tour City track. Some of the only other ones I can think of are tracks in the Boomerang Cup not named Singapore Speedway, which leaves you with Bangkok Rush as the only Tour City track on the list, tracks taking place in Rome, which, believe it or not, only features Realm Avanti and Wario Coliseum on the entire list, and tracks whose final word is Sprint and whose first word starts with an S. And even then, Sydney Sprint comes in second behind Squeaky Clean Sprint in that ranking. As for the track itself, Vancouver Velocity's first lap is amazing. This whole bridge section in particular stands out as one of the best sections of a track in the entire Booster Course Pass, and it makes great use of Mario Kart 8's anti-gravity mechanic, which can't be said for most of the other tracks in the DLC. Also, the music here is pretty darn good, and it gets bonus points for sounding like Canned Heat by Jamiroquai. The only thing is that it takes place during a winter evening, so more like Canned Cold. Am I right, guys?
Not funny!
Admittedly, the second and third laps of the track are weaker than the first, but this gliding section in lap 2 right before going into the hockey rink is pretty good visually, as you can see the northern lights in the night sky. Overall, I find this to be one of the stronger Tour City tracks in the game, but it doesn't quite capture the winter vibe that pretty much any other track on this list does.
In a word, cold. It's very cold all around here.
As the name implies, Rosalina's Ice World has a lot of ice and a lot of Rosalina. In fact, here's some live footage of Rosalina theming in Rosalina's Ice World. Okay, so maybe it only has one of those things. Regardless, I think this is a pretty underrated track in the grand scheme of things. Although it would have been more memorable had there been just a hint of a Rosalina theme. Nice one, Nintendo. The track does at least have some Super Mario Galaxy theming, which is pretty cool. I'm going to focus on the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass remake, which I think is the best version of the track. The sky is gorgeous. The middle section with the ice on the lake that melts as the laps progress is really cool, and Penguin! The track can also be fairly challenging at times with the ice physics, which offers a nice change of pace. Also, like Merry Mountain, I'm just so blown away by the road texture in the area around the finish line. Why did Nintendo cook so damn hard on this? Don't get me wrong, I'm very happy. I'm just confused at the same time considering the visuals of the Booster Course Pass as a whole are not on par with the base game. Overall, an enjoyable track that loses points for not living up to its theming potential, but gains a lot of those back because of Penguin, and a visually stunning starry night sky and road. I mean, oh my god, look at this road.
You want to talk about a supply and demand problem? I sell ice for a living.
Ice Ice Outpost is kind of a weird course for me to rank. On the one hand, I feel like it should be much higher because I always have fun racing on it, and I think it features one of the best implementations of the split paths track design in all of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It also features a ton of really cool shortcuts that feel downright amazing to pull off in a race. Also, I love the music here. In particular, there's this one section that features a violin solo that sounds like it's straight out of a Professor Layton game's opening theme. And you know how much I love the Professor Layton series and its music. However, with all that said, the track somehow doesn't stack up to the 6 tracks I have ranked above it on this list. And I can't quite place my finger on why. But if I had to guess, I'd say it probably has something to do with the theme. At the time of making this video, it's the middle of the winter, and I'm craving a cozy winter track more than a fast-paced one. And if I'm gonna go with one that is faster paced, there are a couple that I think are just a bit better. Make no mistake though, this is an absolute banger of a track. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Well, actually, let them tell you otherwise and then pull out that violin solo section and they'll realize what they've been missing out on.
I'm sorry, I just wanted a Frosty.
Alright, I'm gonna be honest. This course is getting carried on this list based on pretty much nostalgia alone. As I said in this video's intro, I was a Mario Kart DS kid, and with DK Pass being so low on this list, I emotionally needed the game's other winter course, Frappe Snowland, to be higher than it probably should be. This course's whole shtick is that it's winter and it's cozy. That's pretty much it. It features a simple layout, a calming atmosphere, and it captures the feeling of driving around in the winter better than any other track in Mario Kart. And that counts for something. Also, the music here is simply beautiful. It feels like you're driving through a winter wonderland. It's happy and peaceful and perfect for the course's theme. I ultimately prefer the DS version because A, nostalgia, and B, Mario Kart 64's slippery controls make it easier to bump into the snowmen than it is to dodge them. And therefore, Mario Kart DS's tighter controls make the course so much more enjoyable. This one section with all the snowmen all over the course in particular, so much better on DS. Overall, I just love this track's cozy winter vibes.
Kick back and relax while Brewster serves you up a cup of his finest hand-selected coffee.
Speaking of cozy, is there any series cozier than Animal Crossing? Mario Kart 8's original DLC's Animal Crossing track is still the only course to feature a different version depending on the season, and it is such a cool feature. I hope future entries in the series implement more tracks with different variants. And if you don't think so, just imagine dry desert in the winter. How cool would that be? The only downside to the implementation of the seasonal variants is that it is totally random which version you'll be playing when you select the track. So it took me a whole 9 tries to get the winter variation when recording footage for this video. Anyways, this course is so vibrant and detailed and features a ton of really cool references to the Animal Crossing series. Also, I love how once you reach this gliding section, you can see the northern lights in the night sky. This detail is present in a lot of the nighttime winter courses in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but I'm going to keep mentioning it every time because it is just so pretty. The layout is definitely pretty basic and more could have been done to spice it up, but when you play the course during the winter, it simply just hits differently and blends really well with what the Animal Crossing series represents.
Everything's magical when it snows. Do you know that the best things in my life have happened when it snowed?
Alright, disclaimer for this one, I'm only talking about the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass version because the GBA version gives me headaches. Where do I even begin with this track? We have yet another beautiful road, which is clearly slick and reflects the light shining down on it. Cute snowmen lining the outside edges of the track, a beautiful white, light blue, and light purple color scheme that just drives home the chilly but cozy winter aesthetic. An ice section, a really cool added shortcut just before the finish line, and many penguins. I haven't done a scientific analysis, but I do believe this is the course with the most penguins in Mario Kart history. And that right there is cinema. And good lord, the music is just so upbeat and jovial. It's perfect for winter. Honestly, one of my favorites on this entire list. The only reason it didn't make my top 3? Honestly, I don't really know. Somehow, Nintendo made 4 winter tracks that I find pretty much perfect for me. And while this is my ranking today, my feelings on these top 4 could easily change on any given day.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
Sherbetland and Double Dash is a great course. but if I was just ranking the Double Dash installment of this course, it wouldn't be ranked nearly this high. That's where Mario Kart 8's version comes in. Holy glow up. The visual improvements go without saying, but I'm gonna say them anyways. Mario Kart 8 is the best game in the series when it comes to remastering old tracks, and the developers cooked with Sherbet Land. Immediately, the beautiful lighting stands out, along with the fireworks in the sky and the detail of the ice in the cave section. Then you exit the cave and there are those northern lights again. The addition of the optional underwater sections is also a really nice touch. Furthermore, the track isn't as difficult anymore. Of course, the majority of that can be attributed to 8's mechanics and much tighter controls, but even those freezies aren't as punishing to run into anymore. There's just something about an evening winter theme that simply does not miss. I love this track, and the only reason I don't have it in the top 2 is because I think the final 2 courses are not just 2 of the best winter tracks in the series, but they are 2 of the best tracks in the entire series, period, end of story.
Very, very exciting.
At number 2, we have one of the most iconic tracks in the most iconic entry in the Mario Kart series. DK Summit is just so fun to play. This course has aura. The cannon blast, the half pipes that work better in this track than any other in the series, the snowboarding Shy Guys, the gap jump, the double gap jump. Now, do I ever pull off the gap jump? Only 100% of the time I don't fail at it. And the double gap jump? Never in my life, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Honestly, one of the most impressive aspects of this track is that it just gets better as you progress through each lap, with each section being even more exciting than the last. Mario Kart Wii introduced bikes to the series, which aligns with a more extreme sports angle, and you can see that by the implementation of half pipes in the game. And no track screams extreme sports like DK Summit. In the end, there are few courses that capture the excitement and pure magic of your descent down this snowy mountain. But there's at least one. Let's be honest, you probably saw this coming. Mount Wario is one of the most epic and thrilling courses to ever grace the series. For starters, tracks that have 3 sections instead of 3 laps are always bangers because of the variety you see between each of the 3 sections. Here, we open up by driving out of a literal airplane onto the mountain below. We then drive on maybe the best looking ice in video game history, hit a cool little shortcut and enter the second section, the cave. Upon exiting the cave, we drive on the Wario Dam, passing over dash panels and running water. After, we reach the dreaded tree portion. It's hectic, it's difficult, but there's nothing, and I mean nothing, like pulling this part off cleanly and carrying that momentum into the electrifying final section of the course. We're racing down the mountain at 1,000,000 miles an hour. The already rocking music that dynamically changes throughout the track kicks into overdrive. We're tricking off these bumps in the snow. We make our final descent through a minefield of dash panels and rings. We hit one final S-turn and... And that's the list. All that's left to do now is grab a nice cup of hot chocolate and bask in the glorious coziness of winter. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I have a lot more content on the way, so stay tuned. If you have any thoughts or disagreements with my list, please let me know in the comments section. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.